Greetings, friends and family, and welcome to the Spectre of Truth Show. And I am
Black Panther.
So the trailers for the new Black Panther movie are out, and oh my God, people are losing their freaking minds, man. Check this out.
No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. Little darling, don't shed no tears. No woman, no cry. Good friends we are, and good friends we've lost along the way. In this great future, you can't forget your past. So dry your tears, my friend. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright.
Damn, man, here we go again. So, y'all ain't learned your lesson from the first one, right? That first movie. I mean, it ain't even no lead-in for this, man. I just got to go in from jump because millions of y'all are still sitting out here getting your emotions wrapped up into these Hollywood movies, man. Crying and just can't even talk. You know, I swear, man, like, I really thought that people had learned their lesson after that first Black Panther movie. In the first movie, man, they had all the African imagery looking good. The music was banging. All the black superheroes out there running around and kicking ass, man. It was bad, right? I mean, yeah, it was a good movie. Black folk got so excited coming out of the theaters that they were literally crying when they walked out. Like, just tears in their eyes, you know, because for the first time, they get to see black people in a positive role. They get to see black people as the hero as opposed to the villain or the hoe or a slave or something like that. And that's basically the majority of what it's been all these years, and not by accident, okay? But now you get to see them as superheroes. Yeah, they had some good movies. All of them wasn't like that, but most of them was like that, point blank. But now you get to see them as superheroes. You get to see them as intelligent. You know, they wasn't dancing and they wasn't the comic relief through the whole movie, and they didn't get, the hero didn't get killed, the black man didn't get killed within the first 10 minutes of the movie. So, you know, finally you get to see all of those stereotypes thrown away, and, you know, black people really thought that, hey, this is it. You know, we ready. So they came out of the theaters dancing. Man, tribal people literally came out of their villages in the middle of nowhere and traveled into town to watch the movie because nothing like this had ever been done before. This first Black Panther movie was history in the making, and it was basically a new era for the black race all around the world. Or at least that's what they thought.
Everybody that looks like me is a superhero, you know, and nobody's whitewashing it, and it's beautiful.
I'm excited that they're painting Africa in a different light than what we normally see. So it's just a big moment.
Like, everybody has a James Bond or they have a Lara Croft, but to have a Black Panther who's got a bulletproof suit, he really can't get hurt, and he's a great man, oh yeah, that's something I can look up to, so I like it.
To see something where you have an all-black cast coming together, this is big, this is very big.
For once, we're not just dressed in slave clothes, undergoing slavery or brutality or what have you. But for once, we're dressed in good clothes, for once, and we're telling our stories, and we're focusing on different tribes that make up Africa. That's just great.
But after it was all said and done, Marvel and Disney packed up their bags of money and went home. And for all of us, we still excited, we still sitting around, but it was just nothing. Done. That was it. Now, that was in 2018, and 2 years later, in 2020, bam, the star of the show, the Black Panther himself, Chadwick Boseman, dies from colon cancer. This was a very sad announcement, in particular because black people all around the world had literally started to look at him as a black icon. They saw him as something greater than just us little people down here in the mud, whom we could look to for inspiration and guidance. And we saw what he was doing on screen, and we thought we were looking at something we could aspire to. He, like I said, he went from being just an actor, just a normal guy, to an icon, and then poof, he was gone. Fast, just that fast. After all those people that started to get attached to him and attached to his character, snatched out, like right from under him, like a carpet snatched out from under him. So after people started getting over the loss of Brother Chadwick, the question started milling around, how would they ever do a Black Panther 2 movie? You can't just throw anybody in that suit, so what are they going to do? Now, dig this. Did any of you see the articles and the press releases that Marvel was putting out about, we're so broken up about the passing of Chadwick Boseman that we just don't know what to do. We want to honor the memory of this man and of this actor and his character and this icon. We want to honor that. So we don't want to just recast another actor to play the part. He was just absolutely irreplaceable. We could never, just put another actor in that role. This is what they were saying, Marvel and DC representatives. We also don't want to use a computer-generated version of him because it seems like it would cheapen his memory. You still looking at him on screen, he's already passed, and we're still seeing him on screen running around. So that we don't want to do that, It just wouldn't be right to represent Chadwick like that. So we just don't know what to do right now. And they were just lost. All these representatives, these, intelligent, sharp white men in their suits and ties, and, they're standing there. And of course, then they got the little baseball cap on because they're cool at the same time, and they just confused and just lost over the whole thing. Then, after a few more months, Marvel started posting, well, the fans want us to cast Letitia Wright, his sister Shuri in the movie, in the role as the new Black Panther. We just don't know yet. We don't really know. We're just at a loss. But I guess that'll work. But we haven't really made up our minds yet. They were just all messed up about this thing, man. The fans want Letitia, but we don't know yet. We haven't made up our minds. So this was just a really sensitive situation, and it's got to be done just right. So finally, as of last year in 2021, they announced, after much consideration and debate, because this was a thing, man, this was big, that there would be a Black Panther 2 movie. Because at first they didn't even know they're going to do a part 2. So they finally said, yes, there will be a part 2. And it kind of alluded to the fact that Letitia was going to be the new Black Panther. Yeah, let's get a 5'5", 112-pound woman to replace a superhero role originally played by a 6'tall", 192-pound man. She's 5'5", 112 pounds. They're gonna get her to play the role of a 6'tall", 200-pound character. Come on, man. But yeah, she seems like a nice lady, and she's beautiful and all of that. But she ain't grabbing up no 200-pound man or more and tossing them around on a battlefield. That's just not happening. I don't care what kind of suit you put on, that's not happening. She ain't flipping no cars over. She ain't knocking nobody out. and she ain't jumping off no skyscrapers and sliding down to the bottom on just her fingers and claws, okay? Maybe some of y'all forgot just how hardcore the Black Panther really is supposed to be. I mean, that character is supposed to be just bad, man. Check this out.
Southwest rooftop.
Who the hell's the other guy?
Let's find out.
Got him.
Okay, now, I know you might be saying, yeah, but Chadwick didn't do any of that stuff either. It's all CGI. You know, it might be. But there's a such thing as what's called suspension of disbelief. Okay, now what that means is that you can stretch your imagination to the point of being able to accept the impossible as possible or as reality. Okay, and what these studios today don't understand is that it can only be stretched just so far, and then the content becomes so ridiculous and outrageous that it's not even worth watching. Okay, so once you stretch that suspension of disbelief, it breaks, and now you look into something and it's just ridiculous and you can't relate to it. All right, and these are the territories, this is the areas that they're starting to get into with these movies now, by throwing all these women in there to replace male roles. Okay, so in order to enjoy almost any movie, you have to be able to turn off a few logic circuits and just accept that maybe a man really could jump off a building and survive. Maybe he really can flip a car over with his bare hands, see? And it's enjoyable because when we're talking about a man, we don't have to stretch our imagination too far because men really are out here doing some of this stuff. These dudes really are amazing. There's some really amazing cats out here, man, and they're doing real superhuman level shiznit. Okay, they're doing it for real. All right, so you saw Black Panther out there throwing down, right? But these cats out here doing the exact same thing with no CGI or safety nets. All right, just crazy ass dudes in short sneakers and a t-shirt, man. Check this out.
On this beat, had to go and get it in. Knock on your door, baby, come and let me in. I'm here to ride it out, so baby settle in. I'll be your remedy, call me your medicine. That's right, yo doctor, yeah, have a little sip of this vodka. Let's get to the physical part of this examination, call me your proctor. So finish your time, she finish whenever you need. Turning you out while you're turning me on, better than ever, you better believe. Yes, trying to go for broke, too much love, calling overdose. Jay Holiday put you to bed.
See, almost superhuman. Now, I mean, that's, you know, not anybody can go out and do this stuff. This is amazing, all right? It really is very close to what you see in the movie. Now, some might say, yeah, but they're white. You know, white folk can do stuff. You know, they get out here jumping off of, you know, mountains and slide down the side on some sticks and jump off the cliff and go sail through the air like that, you know, and you know how they put their hands out, they sail through, man, sailing through the air on some skis, fly hundreds of feet up in the air and sailing across the air and land back on the snow and don't break nothing and just keep sliding down and switching and people who don't ski just literally don't understand how you can do that, you know, but people who ski, who are mostly white folks, you know, can do it and survive. And those of us that don't ski, you ain't getting me on those skis. I'm not going up in the mountain. I don't enjoy the cold. I'm not playing in the snow up there like that. And I'm definitely not sliding off the side, flying through the air, and landing hundreds or thousands of feet down below without touching the ground. I'm not even going to try it. Maybe I could do it. I'm not trying it. But, you know, now Chadwick was a black man. And like I said, black folk really don't do all that wild shit, you know, flipping around and jumping off of buildings and all of that, you know, breaking all of our bones, you know, get up laughing, you know. But there are some brothers who can hang. Check this out. Okay, the rips on that brother is insane. See, it ain't no big stretch of imagination to think that this brother putting on the that this brother could put on that Black Panther suit and really do a lot of what you saw in the actual movie as fiction, but he could do it for real. So then, just for good measure, check this brother out as he displays God-level skill on the pole vault. See, it's that smooth catch at the end, man. How do you flip all upside down like that, fall like 200 feet, land on your back, and then catch the damn pole at the end? But aside from amazing athleticism, there's the fact of just raw power. Check out one of the strongest men in the world, Hafthor Bjornsson, I think that's his name. Yeah, Hafthor Bjornsson. They call him Thor. This guy, check him out. He's going to deadlift 1,104 pounds. Check it out.
I turn up the bass.
Now this monster man is 6'9" and weighs about 400 pounds. So it's no stretch of the imagination to think that he could be mutated with some kind of wild mixture of chemicals and radiation and be turned into something like the Incredible Hulk. It's not crazy to look at him and think that, you know, if something went wrong, if things got a little too out of hand, he could become something like the Incredible Hulk. He already looked like he halfway there. All right. So then we get back to Letitia as Black Panther. Well, I think you see the problem here. After all that heartfelt deliberation and contemplation, to finally come to the conclusion that to put her little tiny self into the role of a hardcore ass-kicking superhero, going toe-to-toe with anybody that comes around, you know, that's, wow, really? That's what you came up with? You know, so, but this decision obviously took a lot out of them. Those poor white folk, man, just didn't know what to do. They was just, it just blew their minds and they just didn't know what to do. At least that's how they put it. But then I gotta wonder, if they were so confused and this really just messed them up, then how is it that they already told this exact same story and had the Black Panther sister in the role of the Black Panther way back in 2009? Yes, sir, boys and girls. T'Challa's sister, Shuri, was already written in as the new Black Panther almost 15 years ago in 2009. But Chadwick didn't die until 2020. All right. Now, hold up. It gets deeper. Because according to the story, now watch this and connect the dots. All right. Check this out. I want you to think about this. According to the story in 2009, this is in the 2009 comic book here. Okay. In the comic book, T'Challa, the Black Panther, his real name, when he take off the suit, his name in the comic book is T'Challa, okay? His father's name is T'Chaka, all right? So T'Challa, the son, the Black Panther, got into a fight with Dr. Doom, all right? Dr. Doom poisoned T'Challa and made him so sick that he couldn't be the Black Panther anymore. This was in the comic book, 2009. So his sister Shuri puts on the suit instead and takes on the mantle of the Black Panther. So now you have a woman running around in her own Black Panther suit. This is way back 2009 in the comic book, okay? One of the first people she has to fight in her 2009 comic book is, guess who? Yes, sir. Namor of Atlantis. Now, here we are in 2022, and in this movie, coming out 15 years later, all right, in 2022, and guess who she's fighting in this brand new movie that they just, you know, came up with and started putting together because they didn't know what else to do. In the movie, she's fighting Namor of Atlantis. So in the comic, Dr. Doom poisons him and his sister takes over. In real life, they say the doctor confirms that he has colon cancer and his sister takes over. This is awful convenient. It should be considered, let me start it like this. It should be considered how convenient that it is that this is right on time for a woman to fill the role of the Black Panther, as Marvel has women to take over all of the roles of almost every male superhero that they have. All right. There's now a female Thor, a female Wolverine, a female Hulk, a female Superman, a female Spider-Man, and Chadwick's death was right on time for there now to be a female Black Panther. All right. It's also a female Iron Man now. Man, the timing was incredible, wasn't it? That was just wow. So you got all this whole female takeover filling all the roles of the characters, which Chadwick was the Black Panther, you know, and nobody going to just, how do you get a female Black Panther into the role when Chadwick's still out there running around? All right, and everybody loves him and he's an icon. You can't just take him out of the role and say we're going to get rid of him because the movie was a success. How do you get him out of the way so that you can fill the role with a woman like you're doing with every other character? Or was he going to be the only one you didn't change until he just happened to coincidentally pass right in time for the changeover while y'all doing the changeover? You know, I mean, just like I said, the timing is incredible. Okay, they they just happened to have to already have his sister taken over in the comics back in 2009. And Chadwick dies just in time for the feminization of his character and every other character at Marvel. It's just actually absolutely incredible and impeccable timing. Now, one could play the devil's advocate and say, well, they're just following the comics like they always do. It's no biggie. All right, they just made the movie based on the comic book. You know, okay, fine, that's fine. All right, but then why did they spend 2 damn years pretending we don't know what we're gonna do when all they ended up doing is what they had already done? All right, so that's the second problem with this new movie that they're putting out. All right, some questions need to be asked there. Okay, but the last issue is also the biggest issue. Because, as I said, after the first Black Panther movie dropped, Black people around the world really thought this was going to be the start of some kind of great liberation for Black people. But there was no liberation. No great period of change was coming. Nothing. This is what blows Black people's minds, man. It's just, you know, because we look at a movie and we hear drums and we got the African singing and dancing going on, and the people on screen are all wearing the African robes and the beautiful dashikis, you know. Surely this has to mean something for us, you know. There's got to be something going on behind the scenes. There's got to be more than just a movie. Okay, our people have had a really hard time accepting that although they showcased and glorified our culture, it was never really about our culture. And I liked the movie, don't get me wrong. I was digging it, man. I bought the 4K DVD, watched it with a big old pizza and everything. But the facts are the facts. And the truth is that the Black Panther character developed by Marvel, which Marvel is now owned by Disney, and that's where all the feminization is coming from. It's actually coming from Disney, not from Marvel. Marvel has never expressed the desire to feminize or, you know, gender change their characters. But when they got taken over by Disney, that's when all of that started. Okay, it's kind of funny how Disney would be associated with that. You know, it's supposed to be a big family corporation, all about the kids, and yet, you know, when they get involved in something, this whole other thing starts to kick in that you wouldn't normally associate with that company. But anyway, this is just a character that was made up by white people way back in July of 1966 for their benefit and their prosperity, not ours. And our people have had a hard time, Black people have really had a hard time accepting that, you know, that they could take and tap into our culture on that level and represent us and put us out there on that level. And it doesn't extend beyond the actors and the actresses as far as where the money goes. Billions of dollars. And it stops within that bubble of Marvel and Disney, you know. So it's just like, wow, that's crazy. Now guess what else dropped for the first time in 1966? Okay, that's when the Black Panther was invented. The character of the Black Panther first came out in 1966. The other thing that came out in 1966 was the real Black Panther. That was your new era for black people in America and around the world, right there. See, everything you're waiting on already happened. We had it, man. Wakanda was real. A lot of people have heard about the Black Panther Party, but they don't have any idea what it really was all about. So let me show you the real Wakanda that our ancestors built right here in America back in the 60s and 70s. Okay, now check this out. On March 23rd, 1965, let me just set it up. On March 23rd, 1965, as the march from Selma to Montgomery took place, Stokely Carmichael, a brother named Stokely Carmichael, and others from the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, also known as SNCC. A lot of y'all hadn't heard about that today, but back then that was the big thing. SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. These were young students, man, young people that was getting together and was trying to structure nonviolent movements and operations based on the teachings of Martin Luther King. All right, so SNCC had decided to stop marching in an area called, it was Lowndes County, Alabama. And instead, they chose to spend some time talking with the local residents. All right, so they stopped marching. They dropped out of the march. They said, we're going to stay down here and rap with the people. After word spread that Stokely Carmichael, had narrowly avoided being arrested by two officers who had ordered him to leave a school where he was registering voters. And he and other SNCC members had gotten tired of voting for racist political candidates, all right, and they decided to form their own political party. They called it the Lowndes County Freedom Organization, or rather the LCFO. Now, most black people today, have no idea that the Democratic Party was the party that was instituting all of the harsh laws, restrictions, penalties, and everything that was going against blacks. All the hardships that they were having was being orchestrated and instituted by the Democratic Party, not the Republicans. All right. Okay. It was the Democrats who had came in and stopped black people from voting. It was the one who assassinated Abraham Lincoln. He freed the slaves, and he was assassinated by a Democrat. They was upset about him doing that. Okay, it was a Democrat that started the KKK. All of this was done by the Democrats. All right. Even here in modern day, your boy Bill Clinton, y'all called him the first black president. White man up on Arsenio Hall show playing a saxophone, and y'all called him the first black president because he played a saxophone on Arsenio Hall. Then he got into office and instituted the 3-strike rule, which is if you had 3 felonies, if you got charged or was actually found guilty on 3 violent felony counts, up to 3. Once you hit 3, it was 3 strikes, you're out. You got life in prison with no chance of parole. That was a Democrat that set that up. Okay, but that's a whole another show. But the point is that it was these white supremacist Democrats were using a white rooster as their political party symbol. That was the image that they had, was a white rooster crowing, and they made it clear that they were white supremacists. Now, this is primarily focused around in the area of Alabama, but what I'm saying is that all of the problems that the black people was having during the voting civil rights era was coming through the Democratic Party. All right, this is well documented. Okay, and then you see the images and the pictures of how they represented themselves. So the LCFO, Lowndes County, the Lowndes County organization, okay, when they decided that they wanted to go against it, they chose their own symbol that would go against this, that would stand against this white rooster. And that symbol was a Black Panther. Okay. So a year later, in 1966, Huey Newton suggested to Bobby Seale that they adopt that symbol as well, to use it to form the new Black Panther Party. Now you know why they have the word party in the name, because black people in that day were intelligent enough to realize that the white politicians were never going to give them the civil rights, the human rights, and the freedoms and the liberties that people were demanding. So they formed their own political party. All right, that's right. The original purpose of the Black Panther Party was to form an independent black political party and run for various government offices. They were trying to get in to be as mayors, governors, and vice presidents, and maybe even president one day. And all these people would be associated with Black Panthers in one way or another. Now, that might sound foolish and outrageous today, but during the Reconstruction era after slavery, federal troops stationed in the South helped secure rights for the newly freed slaves. Hundreds of black men were elected to Southern state legislatures as Republicans. And 22 black Republicans served in the U.S. Congress by 1900. 22 black Republicans served in the U.S. Congress by 1900. Black people's beloved Democrats did not elect a black man to Congress until 1935. Okay. Then after the Reconstruction era ended and the federal troops were pulled out, the Democrats swarmed into the region and used terror tactics in the form of the KKK to force blacks out of office and in many cases out of town. Okay. Now, the Black Panthers came on the scene in October 1966, and aside from helping the black community and striving for political position, one of their goals was to provide people in the black community a defense force against the KKK. That's what all the guns and everything was about, man. That's what they were trying to help protect the people. That's what they was down there for. All right, that's why it all started. You can't have one group, one opposing force jump up and start asserting itself and not have another opposing group and start asserting itself in some way or another. You know, for equal action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's the laws of the universe. You know, everywhere you go, that happens. You drop a rock in the water, it's going to cause ripples. You know, then the ripples equal the size of the rock. It's what it is, man. Okay. So dig this. The first appearance of the Black Panther in comic books was in July of 1966 in the Fantastic Four, issue number 52. Okay, now, the Black Panther name and logo was already well known and in use by the LCFO. All right, and the Black Panther comic book was written by Stan Lee and drawn by Jack Kirby a year after the LCFO was formed. All right. During an interview in 1990 with the comics co-creator, Jack Kirby, he was asked why he created the character, and Jack Kirby said, this is what he said: "I came up with the Black Panther because I realized that I had no blacks in my comic strip, but I had a lot of black readers, and my friend was a black man as well. And so here I was ignoring them because I was associating with everybody else, meaning white folk." So Jack Kirby was obviously a genius, okay, because he took a symbol that black people of that era had been using to represent their struggle and their resistance to oppression, and he used it to market his comic books, all right, which of course would instantly connect black people all across the nation to his character, all right. So it would make them emotionally, mentally, and spiritually attached to something that he could profit from, but that doesn't benefit the black fans in the least. And I'm not accusing him of brainstorming some kind of master plan and setting it up for that purpose. I do believe that he just wanted to create something for his black friend. I don't think he's lying about that. But the way a genius's mind works is all of the pros and cons of their actions are calculated on a subconscious level as they make a decision on the conscious level. Okay, so to him, on the surface, he probably just said to himself, hey, here's a logo and a name that black people seem to like and identify with. What if I made up a whole character based on that? It seems like a good idea, so he did it. But on the subconscious level, he knew that such a character would tug at the heartstrings and connect to the spirit of the black people and be an instant success because the name and the symbol was already connected to them. Okay, so now, that was back in 1966. Jack Kirby, co-developer, co-creator of the Black Panther. All right, now that was how the Black Panther character comic book superhero came about. Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. Okay, so that needs to be understood. And so he just admitted where they got it from. All right, now, but these ones out here today, Marvel and Disney today, I guarantee you that they know exactly what they're doing. They know that the name and the imagery, the drums and the music and all of that, the colors speak to the soul of black people. And now with Brother Chadwick having recently passed and part 2 of the movie coming out, they can capitalize on all of that emotion and not only make billions, but more importantly, they can get the people to form an emotional connection to the corporation that made the movie. Because now they feel that this company has done, that the people would believe now that the company has their best interests at heart. See? You get nothing from Marvel, nothing from Disney, who owns Marvel. You know, all right, yeah, you get a couple of hours of entertainment and you get to feel good, you know, because you see a bunch of black superheroes on the screen. You can come out of the theater and dance around and be happy for a few minutes. And that's worth a $15 movie ticket, all right? But in the end, when you get back home, your condition is still exactly the same as before you left home to go see the movie. But that's not how the real Black Panthers left the brothers and the sisters of yesteryear. The real ones, the real Black Panthers, elevated the lives of everybody that they came in contact with. The real ones in real life did everything that the characters in the movie are only playing at doing. Movie, they're playing with it. In real life, the Black Panthers actually did it. Okay, at the end of the Black Panther movie, T'Challa said that he wanted to establish an outreach program between Wakanda and the people. He didn't say he wanted to work with poor black people, but he landed his ship in a poor black community, so the implication of intent was there. Okay, so here you have the Black Panther, T'Challa, talking about how he had purchased multiple buildings in an area of the hood and was going to use them to set up an outreach program between the Wakandans and the people of the community. This is cool for a movie, but what nobody seems to realize is that while we're cheering for it in a movie, it was already done in real life and destroyed. We're cheering for the fake one and forgot about the real one. What the hell, man? Come on now. This is almost an insult. This is a slap in the face to the real ones because no mention of the real ones is ever made in the movie. No, they don't want you going back looking at that. Just look at this character. Look at this character that we made for you. Cheer for him. Put your money into that. And then that's all you need. Don't worry about what happened in yesteryear. God forbid that all those millions and millions of people who watch the movie actually go look up the real Black Panthers and then get the idea to try and replicate what they did. All right? Nobody talks about what they did. You know, who they were and what did they do. The real Black Panthers were a group. Man, you're going to trip on. Check this out. The real Black Panthers were a group of 17 to 25-year-old children. These were young cats, man, who got off the sofa, united, and went out into the streets with the people and rocked the entire nation from coast to coast. They scared the powers that be so bad that they literally formed SWAT, COINTELPRO, and the FBI just to stop them. Kids, black 20-somethings. Okay? These were children that started this. Go find any 20-year-old today and compare them to the brothers and sisters back then, and you'll see that there was a stark difference from what's going on right now. All right, look at any 22-year-old, 23-year-old, 24, 17-year-old, and imagine them today, these ones out today, starting some kind of organization and going out and rocking the world with it. Some could do it. Some have done great things. I'm not saying just because you're young you can't do anything. I'm saying that the atmosphere and the environment has changed. It doesn't breed superheroes like it did before. It was the people that came out back then was God level. All right, it was something special about them. Those brothers and sisters of yesteryear, and you know we're not supposed to be going back and looking at them, but we need to, because all of the problems that you have today, they gave you the answers to back then. But they gave the answers back then, but nobody wanted to follow them, so the problem still exists today. Now, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, if that's true, then what is a video worth? So I want to do these black gods justice, but I can't tell it like the people who actually lived it. So I edited together a little presentation just so that they could tell you themselves what really went down and what it was all about and how the whole thing, you know, went. So I hope you enjoy it. These are the real Black Panthers.
The Black Panthers. Black Panther. The Black Panther Party. Black Panther movement.
The Black Panthers were absolutely unique.
Being black in America meant that you didn't walk down the street with the same sense of safety and the sense of privilege as a white person. Attack dogs, fire hoses.
Police jump on you, beat you up, put the gun at your head. This is what we were going through on a daily basis.
We stand on the eve of a black revolution, brothers.
Now we have voices within the community that we're not going to continue to turn the other cheek.
We want black power. We want black power.
The Second Amendment guarantees the citizen a right to bear arms on public property.
We're going to carry our guns and we're going to follow the police. We're going to maintain a legal distance, ready to throw down if necessary.
Anyone who would approve of this kind of demonstration must be out of their mind.
God help yourself! That's what I need!
These racist Gestapo pigs have to stop brutalizing our community or we're going to drive them out.
The majority of the rank and file are women.
We tried to change some of the clear gender roles. Women had guns and men cooked breakfast for children.
The way we walk and talk and dress, we were a phenomenon.
The Black Panthers really understood the media. They used us to their advantage.
Chairman of the Black Panther Party, and here he is.
They tapped the phone. The phone is probably hooked up to the White House.
You read the Black Panther Party newspaper?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because I'm black and I'm proud.
The FBI wanted to destroy the Panthers.
How about justice? Justice is incidental to law and order.
This was all-out attack on the Black Panther Party. Every significant office is going to be raided, bombed, shot, mass arrests.
They were coming to kill us.
The Panthers didn't invent the idea of black is beautiful. People had started wearing afros and dashikis. But one of the things that Panthers did was that urban black is beautiful. And that look just blew people away.
If you were a young black man living in the city anywhere, you wanted to be like this. You wanted to dress like this. You wanted to act like this. You wanted to talk like this. You wanted to be this.
It's a standard of aggressiveness, of militance, of just forcefulness, that the sort of standard we haven't had in the past.
But figuratively speaking, you're not about to become a Panther.
No, not today or tomorrow at any rate. Maybe the day after.
This brother here, myself, all of us were born with our hair like this, and we just wear it like this. Reason for it, you might say, is like a new awareness among black people that their own natural appearance, physical appearance, is beautiful. Black people are aware now. They're proud of it. It's pleasing to them. Dig it? Isn't it beautiful? All right.
You're talking about people who are teenagers, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's the bulk of the Panthers are teenagers. So the fact that we were so young and the fact that this hadn't happened before, I'm not certain that we recognize how startling it looked to other people.
Dear Mr. Newton, I'm a 13-year-old black girl and I want to be a Black Panther. I wish you would fill me in. Does it matter what your religion is? What are some qualifications to be a Black Panther? P.S. Write me back personally.
I was taught to be proper. Behave yourself. You're going out in public to always know that the white man was listening. With the Black Panthers coming to the scene, it was just a completely different message. As a 12-year-old, you know what? You had this whole other portrayal of self and just digging it.
Photographers took advantage. I mean, they took our pictures, they put them on newspapers, they put them on magazines, and that look that we projected, you know, the big afro, the leather jacket, the shades, that became a hit. And obviously, photographers were drawn to the Panthers.
Well, we hear a great deal about the Black Panthers.
Black Panthers. The Black Panthers were absolutely unique.
We have a film of your breakfast program. Is this without sound also?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Would you comment on this?
Yes, I will. This is a free breakfast children program, and they're preparing the food there early in the morning. It's about 2 hours work in the morning. These party members primarily set this whole program up, and then we involve as many of the community people as we can.
Who all on here? People in there. Come on in, little brother. Come on in, little y'all can sit down and get something to eat.
Studies came out saying that children that didn't have a good breakfast in the morning were less attentive at school and less inclined to do well and suffered from fatigue. I mean, there was all sorts of scientific reasons to have a good breakfast in the morning. And we just simply took that information and a program was developed serving breakfast to children.
After my father came home from Vietnam and was discharged from the Army and couldn't get work, we were going through a very hard time. Food was kind of, just the everyday necessities were hard. I was embarrassed to go, but when you went, kids are all laughing, and then all of a sudden the stigma, or whatever you thought was a stigma, went away, and you really got to see that, yes, this is what the Black Panthers are.
We were showing love for our people. If you have a child, if you know that, hey, these men and women are going to feed my child in the morning, that's a big deal.
The breakfast program actually really caught on. It served about 20,000 meals a week to young people in 19 different communities. So it wasn't a fly-by-night thing. It really actually was making a difference.
We have made a greater sacrifice than anybody who's standing up in America today. We have made a greater contribution and have collected less.
Man, what can you say after that? Now is when you should be crying. Now is when you should be wiping your eyes. Not over the Disney movie, but to find out just how close you came to that movie being a reality. All right? To having a real Wakanda. You had it. They was putting it together. Those was the real ones, man. The movers and the shakers of society, right there. I mean, you just saw it for yourself. So just a relative handful of black youth that united and went to work for their people, and they shook this whole country to its foundation with their bare hands. But a short clip like that is incapable of providing the necessary detail of what the Black Panther Party was really about and who they really were. I should say what they were really doing in the community that got the powers that be so shook up. It should also be noted how if you really look at the people in those crowds, you know, when they showed the crowd scene, if you really look at the crowds of the people that were supporting them, the crowd was filled with all ethnicities cheering for them. All right, this was not a racist organization. All right, there was white people in the crowd chanting for Huey Newton, just as loud as the black people was chanting for Huey Newton. Okay, so again, that's something that you never hear about. They had everybody out there, Hispanics, Latinos, whites, blacks, everybody was out here screaming for the Black Panthers or screaming for Huey Newton. Okay, you don't hear about that part. So in order to truly honor those black guys, I'd like to take a few minutes and just give you a relatively brief rundown of the programs that the real Black Panthers had organized, and to show you just how close we really came to having a true Wakanda in this country. That video kind of told you what they went through, but you need to understand what they really did. They didn't go into all of what they were actually doing for the people. All right. Now, they already mentioned their most popular program, which was the free breakfast program. But they didn't go into just how magnificent, how magnanimous that it really was, what they were really doing. So, check this out, man. The free breakfast for school children program was set up in Berkeley, California in 1968 by Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton. All right. It was the first significant community program organized by the Panthers, and perhaps the most well-known. By the end of 1969, free breakfast was being served in 19 cities under the sponsorship of the national headquarters and 23 of his local affiliates. More than 20,000 school children received full free breakfast consisting of bread, bacon, eggs, and grits before going to their elementary or junior high schools. See? Now that's just one program. And that's really the only one you hear about. But if you stick with me for a minute, I'm going to tell you about 7 other ones. Okay? You don't hear about these. Now, another program that they had set up was called the People's Free Medical Centers, or the PFMC. All right? These centers were eventually established in 13 cities across the country, from Cleveland to New Haven, Connecticut, and from Winston-Salem to North Carolina to Los Angeles. The sisters in the group were the backbone of the effort, which isn't surprising considering that approximately 60% of the Black Panther Party members were female. Some of the clinics were in storefronts, other ones were in trailers or hastily built structures, so a lot of them didn't last very long, but they were there and they were trying to do something, okay? So if you could get to one, they did offer services such as testing for high blood pressure, lead poisoning, tuberculosis, diabetes, cancer, cancer detection screenings, physical exam treatments for colds, flu. They had treatments for cold, the flu, and immunization shots for polio, measles, rubella, and diphtheria. And after being immunized, the people weren't walking away with facial paralysis or dying a few days later either. So it should also be noted that many of the brothers and sisters involved in the PFMC were later on became full-time credentialed healthcare professionals. So they used that and took it and went full-time and became official and legitimate, working in doctors' offices and hospitals. So these, like I said, this is the real deal. So that's 2 programs. Number 3 was the Youth Institute, the Intercommunal Youth Institute, which was established in 1971 by the Black Panther Party. In 1974, the name was changed to the Oakland Community School. The Black Panther Party goal was to get children to learn to their highest levels of potential and to strengthen their minds so that one day that they would be able to get out there and become successful.
Are you a boy?
No.
What are you?
Oh, man.
What kind of man?
Black and beautiful man.
The school graduated its first class in 1974. In September of 1977, California Governor Edmund Jerry Brown Jr. And the California legislature gave Oakland Community School a special award for having set the standard for the highest level of elementary education in the state. See? This is the black militant terrorist organization that you're told about. Okay? They set the standard for the highest level of elementary education in the entire state of California. I looked up the rankings today, and according to a website, worldpopulationreview.com, California public schools are now ranked at number 36 in the nation out of 51. Massachusetts is number 1, and New Mexico is number 51 at the bottom. 36 out of 51 today. But in 1977, the Black Panthers had their elementary schools getting recognition and awards. Come on, man. You see it now, right? You see what I'm talking about? Okay, so now program number 4 was called SAFE, which meant Seniors Against a Fearful Environment. Yeah, man, check this out. SAFE was a non-profit corporation which was started by the Black Panther Party at the request of a group of senior citizens for the purpose of preventing muggings and attacks upon the elderly, particularly when they went out to cash their Social Security or pension checks. Prior to approaching the Black Panther Party, the seniors had gone to the Oakland Police Department to request protection, but the seniors were told that they should just walk closer to the curb in the future. All right, get a little bit more light, when you don't walk so close to the buildings. If you walk a little closer to the curb and get a little bit more light on you, you'll be all right. And that was the end of it. That's all the cops did for them. Okay. So, according to a Panther report by David Hilliard, who served as the party's chief of staff, in contrast to that bullshit, the SAFE program offered free transportation and escort services to the residents of the Satellite Senior Homes, which was a residential complex for the elderly in Oakland, California. It was the people's free. This was something that they had set up and done, and they walked with them, they protected them, they took care of them. Cops just left them out to hang. Number 5 was the People's Free Ambulance Service. The service was provided. This service provided free, rapid transportation for the sick or injured people without time-consuming checks into the patient's financial status or their means. The People's Free Ambulance Service operated with at least one ambulance on a 24-hour emergency basis, and from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on a non-emergency or convalescent basis. People were transported to and from the hospital or doctor's office in a modern, comfortable ambulance by courteous, efficient, and knowledgeable attendants. Number 6 was the free food program. See, the other one was for the children. This one is just free food for whoever, a grown folk, whoever. Okay, check this out. The program provided free food to black and other oppressed people. The intent of the free food program was to supplement the groceries of black and poor people of all ethnicities until economic conditions allowed them to purchase good food at reasonable prices. So they didn't just give them a bag of groceries or a block of cheese and a loaf of bread and send them on their way. They supplied them groceries until they could do it on their own. Now, I know people can get on food assistance today and get a ton of food, almost anything they want for free. I understand that. But that's only if they meet some very stringent requirements, and only after filling out a ton of forms and paperwork and passing a review of your information and all of that. But with the Black Panthers program, you could just go down there and they would just help you out. All right, you didn't have to do all that. They'd help you out and they give you the groceries, bags of groceries for as long as you need them. See? Now, all of your churches are supposed to be filling that need right now today, but good luck with that. So you can head on down there to Pastor Gravy and see how many bags of groceries you can come out of there with if you want to, and see how long he'll keep giving them to you. If he gives you one, see if you can get back down there the week after that and the week after that, and at what point you finally find the doors locked. Okay. In contrast, the Black Panther's free food program provided two basic services to the community. One was an ongoing supply of food to meet their daily needs, and two was periodic mass distributions of food to reach a larger segment of the community than could be serviced from the ongoing supply. The community was provided with bags of fresh food containing items such as eggs, canned fruits, vegetables, chicken, milk, potatoes, rice, bread, cereal, and so forth. All right. A minimum of a week's supply of food was included in each bag. And we ain't even done, man. That was only number 6. Notice how you never hear about any of this when people talk about the Black Panthers today. You don't hear about this stuff, all right? All they show you is photos of them walking around with the black leather on and carrying the guns with their fists in the air. See, you know, that's what we see today. So, you know, when people see that, they say, well, you're good. They should have broke that mess up. Look at all those guns. Look how horrible they. Man, they got them people out there like that with the guns and the knives and berets on and the black on. Yeah, man, I'm glad they go and get them out of here. But what they don't tell you is that that was about an attempt that, you know, the black leather and the guns and all this. That was an attempt to stop the police and KKK brutality going on against black people. Do you think it's bad now? Back in the 60s and 70s, it was 20 times worse. So you can't get upset about people trying to defend themselves. All right. So if you don't want them to defend themselves, what, they just supposed to curl up and die on the sidewalk until somebody just get tired of killing them? I mean, come on, man. If you can't offer an alternative, and if you're not going to defend them, then people have to defend themselves. That's human nature. You know, everybody has a right to breathe and live. Nobody has a right to take it away from them. You can go in there and you know, anybody can get attacked, but you know, you have a right to breathe and defend yourself too. Come on, man. So the Black Panthers, instead of, they did things a little different. So, you know, they didn't have that mentality that these ones have today. So instead of marching around in circles with some signs or laying out in the sidewalk to protest or burning down their own neighborhood and stores like a fool, these brothers and sisters exercised the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which is supposed to guarantee a right of the people to keep and bear arms. The Panthers even patrolled the streets. Okay, they patrolled the streets. They went on patrol, and if they saw the police with a black person pulled over for a ticket or whatever, they stood there with their rifle to make sure that that brother or sister wasn't abused. They wasn't abused or mishandled or even killed. And that's what they were out there for. That's what they were doing. They were providing a defense force for people that had no defense. Now today, you wish you had something like that. Well, 50 or 60 years ago, your great-grandparents had it. This was real, and it wasn't just a movie. Okay? This is the kind of stuff that if there was a real Black Panther, like in the movie, if they did come down and if they did integrate with the people in these poor communities, these are the kind of things that they would have had to have set up if they were really going to set up an outreach program and do what T'Challa was saying in that movie he wanted to do. If they were going to involve themselves like that, they would have provided a police force for the people to stop that kind of abuse. They won't show that in the movie, though, because now you got this black superhero coming on with the name of the Black Panther fighting with... There you go. We stopped at number 6. There's 2 more. Number 7 was the Black Student Alliance, the BSA. The Alliance was founded in May of 1972 when several black student unions in the Bay Area pulled together with the goal of creating concrete programs on the campuses that would unify the student body and black students with the black community in order to make Bay Area colleges better served and to be more responsible to the surrounding poor and oppressed communities. The BSA instituted a program for free books, and supplies, a free transportation program to get you back and forth to school. They had child care services, a financial aid program, they had also a food program, and they were serving good, nutritious food at reasonable prices. Okay, and the initiation of relevant courses in the schools, along with the demand for better instructors. So the initiation of relevant courses. So a lot of black people go to these colleges and they go to take classes and things, and they realize none of it has anything to do with black people or what black people want to learn, or how our minds work and what we want to get into, and various creative activities and learning our history and things. They want relevant courses. Well, the BSA, that was one of the things that they worked on in getting that set up, and they wanted better instructors to teach it. Okay, so number 8, and this is the last one, was they had the Black Panther newspaper. The paper was a tabloid-sized newspaper that published regularly every week starting in April 1967. It was copyrighted by Huey Newton and was a 24-page paper which was distributed nationally. The Panthers provided news and information about the work of the Black Panther Party, the various chapters throughout the country, news and news analysis of the black community. And other oppressed communities in the United States also were included in this. They also dealt with news from Africa and around the world. It also included theoretical writings of party ideologies and general news features on all the matters relative to the liberation of humankind from the oppression of any kind. So there's your black militant terrorist organization known as the Black Panther Party right there. That was such a threat that they absolutely had to be gunned down in their sleep, some of them, and they had to get blown away by the newly formed SWAT teams and FBI agents. Okay, they had to stop this. This couldn't be tolerated anymore, and this is how they dealt with them. Now, you don't hear anything about any of this today. There's a new Black Panther Party out here now, but I haven't heard anything about them going into black communities and transforming those communities and buying up businesses. Maybe they are, but then they should publicize it more and get more involved in these political campaigns that's going on here as the original ones did. Because I don't hear about any of it. Maybe they're doing it, but I just don't see it on the news or online or anything like that. I think that black people today would like to know that something like that was going on. So that's what happened to the original Black Panthers. Those were the real warriors who really were fighting to change the status and the condition of black people in this country, and would have spread it around the world if they'd had the chance. So these are your real Wakandans. That's the real ones right there. All right. Everything you're waiting for today has actually already came and went. All right. Thanks to our own ancestors selling them out. You want to know why we don't have anything today? There it is. Now you know. But wait, I know you thought it was over, but check this out. I got a little surprise for you, man. The Black Panthers were not the only real Wakandans. I would be doing our people a great disservice, and I would be doing a disfavor to our great history if I didn't mention the fantastic brothers and sisters and the great works that they perform within the Nation of Islam. Yeah, man. If they tore down one Wakanda, our people built up another one. The Nation of Islam was actually the second Wakanda that black people built in this country with their bare hands and shook the foundations of this country down to its roots. Marcus Garvey's great organization was the first one. The Nation of Islam was actually the second one. And the Black Panthers came a little later in the game, they were the third one. That's how bad our people are, man. If we put our minds to it, great empires start rising up out of the dirt, out of nothing. So in this third Wakanda, I said in the second Wakanda, the Nation of Islam. Malcolm X. Was the equivalent, the real life equivalent to the Black Panther superhero T'Challa. And you could say that the Grand Master Teacher Elijah Muhammad represented his father, who in the movie was T'Chaka. All right. Now you saw in the clip where T'Challa said that he had purchased all those buildings. Well, that already happened. Brothers and sisters, that was real. At its peak in the 70s, the Nation of Islam had opened over 15 different businesses just in Chicago alone. Chicago, 15. Now, and I'm not saying total. They had more than that if you want to spread out outside of Chicago. But that was just in Chicago. So the ones in Chicago included a grocery store called Your Supermarket, which is an awesome name for a new store in a predominantly black community, Your Supermarket. That's cool. That's real clever right there. They also had Shabazz Grocery, Chicago Lamb Packers, Shabazz Bakery, Good Foods, Shabazz Restaurant, Salam Restaurant, Shabazz Barbershop, a clothing factory. They also own coffee shops, laundromats, nightclubs, a printing plant, and retail stores. They open up dress shops and dry cleaners as well. And it should be noted that the restaurants and the clothing stores provided cooked meals and clothing to both Muslims and non-Muslims alike. So again, no hate, no racism, just like the real Black Panthers. They helped anybody who needed it, and they sold their goods to anybody who wanted it. Now, as I said before, our people don't have a history of leaving you out to die and leaving you out there to starve to death and poisoning your food and water and attacking and killing you based on your skin color. We have a history of taking care of anybody in need, which is almost always to our own detriment. Everybody historically that black people have helped has turned around and tried to wipe them out, or has wiped them out. So it should also be noted that at its peak, the Nation of Islam owned numerous real estate holdings, and an entire fleet of tractor trailers, as well as farmland in Michigan, Alabama, and Georgia. Now dig this. The Nation of Islam also opened up a bank in its headquarters city of Chicago. Did any of you know that they had their own bank? I didn't know it. In January 1973, the Nation of Islam gained a controlling interest in the Guarantee Bank and Trust Company on the south side of Chicago. NOI members and business, NOI, Nation of Islam, okay? NOI members and businesses nationwide were encouraged to deposit their money within the bank. Elijah Muhammad called it the bank for the black man, as it reflected now decades-old capital accumulation practices by the Nation of Islam, and indicated that the NOI was now one of the wealthiest black organizations in the United States. The NOI Bank was a full-service institution which conformed to all of the U.S. government regulations for financial institutions. Oscar S. Williams, a 35-year-old father of two, was appointed the first president of the bank under the ownership of the NOI. At its height in the 1970s, court records confirmed that the organization owned farms in 3 states, a newspaper, and earned annual profits of over $3 million. All right, $3 million a year. A Chicago supermarket cleared $325,000 on sales of $1.7 million. A string of small bakeries and cleaners, and some 40-odd Chicago area rental properties in addition to the bank. In 1972, the followers of the NOI had contributed $3.7 million to the bank, according to an audit. Okay, the bank had expanded under NOI management to hold more than $10 million in assets, and it employed more than 500 people by 1975. Something else they had going on that nobody else ever talks about is the now infamous fish deal. The Nation of Islam has set up a fish deal with Peru. Y'all ain't heard nothing about this. Maybe I'm missing something. I had never heard of this. Through international trade with the government of Peru, the Nation of Islam bought millions of dollars worth of fish, creating jobs and opportunities for the black community. By 1974, the Nation of Islam, by 1974, NOI Enterprises agreed to buy 1 million pounds of whiting fish from a Peruvian fishing distributor. Okay, NOI members literally went door to door taking orders for the fish, offering the food to Muslims and non-Muslims alike. All right, door to door, man, to take the orders. Hey, would you like to buy some fish and support the Nation of Islam? Da, 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 da. And they was getting orders. Okay, door to door. They was out there, man. They was in the streets. They wasn't just sitting back chilling. This now, they wasn't marching and going around in circles either. They was actually out there doing what they, instead of, as they say, begging somebody else to do for them, they went out and did for themselves what they knew needed to be done instead of begging somebody else to do it for them. That's how you do it. That's the difference. All right. By doing this, they not only provided jobs for black people, but they helped spread the word about the NOI's growing fish program and provided affordable food for the community. It was also a way to encourage a healthier diet in the black community. You know, get them off of that soul food. See? And then you got the high blood pressure and everybody dropping dead at 65 years old, 60 years old, 50 years old, and wonder why. Well, you know, you change your diet, change your life. Okay? And that's what they was trying to do. So at the start of the international buying program, in June 1974, New York City representatives of the NOI picked up 250,000 pounds of imported whiting from a Brooklyn pier. All right. When they went down there to the pier and picked up 1 million pounds of imported whiting. They got the fish down there, man. They went down there and got it. These brothers was bad, man. Here go your Wakanda right here. All right. They distributed the fish to NOI-owned steak and take fast food shops, which were located mainly in Harlem and other black communities. The steak and take shops originally sold steak sandwiches and hamburgers for takeout, but with the fish program, the NOI converted these shops into fish houses. I bet they was good too, man. I'd like to have tasted some of that. That was all clean and organic food too. All right, back then they didn't deal with the GMO and all of that and fructose corn syrup. They didn't have, man, this was straight out of the water, man. Fresh fish. All right, this was the best of the best, and they sold it at prices the prices that they had back then. It probably only cost a few dollars for more food than you could eat. Okay, so once they converted over the steak from the steakhouse to the fish house. The fish houses now sold everything from fish sausage to fish burgers, fish spoke sandwiches, and fish salad. With beef having become too expensive, fish became the main food item. The NOI sold this fish much cheaper than elsewhere also. See, I just said that. So while whiting was selling at fresh fish markets for nearly $1 a pound, the NOI offered a frozen fish product for 25 cents. Anywhere from 25 to 50 cents per pound. Everybody else was selling it for $1. Okay. The October 21st, 1974 opening of the first Harlem Fish House was an immediate instant success. The New York Times reported that hundreds of people in Harlem lined up for the opening of Elijah Muhammad's Fish House #1, the latest in a series of business ventures and the first in a projected chain of 40 fish restaurants that were all going to be owned by the Nation of Islam. So that was just the first one, but they had 40 planned. The first fish house was on 8th Avenue between 126th and 127th Street, which was regarded by many people, including the police, as one of the worst areas in Harlem. An area saturated with drug dealers, illegal alcohol sales and robberies, as well as prostitution and crowds of unemployed in the street. So they opened up their first fish house in the worst place they could find. But then check this out. Minister Louis Farrakhan attended the opening of the Harlem Fish House and to represent Elijah Muhammad. And Farrakhan reportedly told the crowd at the opening that the restaurant was a survival station. and stressed that it would be used to serve our people a whole meal for under $1. During the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Farrakhan introduced Brother Raymond 17X as the manager of the shop. He explained that many people would remember Raymond as a former addict who had used to stand on that same corner of where the shop is now at. And he's now converted over to Islam, and now they got him running the whole damn shop. See? The first one, which is the most important, June 13th. The first one, which is the most important, is the one that they put an ex-addict in control of. That's your Nation of Islam for you, man. That's, you know, Malcolm said, even though he was mad at them and they was falling out, Malcolm still said that if you want to get cleaned up, the Nation of Islam, that's what they do. They get you back together. They can take something, nothing, and turn you into something. And to be able to bring some people up from zero and put them back together and get their mind right, Nation of Islam is known for that. Okay, so, and Malcolm admitted it. Even though he was mad at him, he still admitted that. All right. On June 13, 1974, the New York Times reported that the first delivery of imported fish had arrived the previous day at the New York Pier as part of Elijah Muhammad's program, which started in 1973 to import fish, frozen fish, which was the frozen whiting. It was a good food. This is what they reported, that it was a good food that people can afford. Now, back then, a man by the name of Henry Kissinger was Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor under President Richard Nixon. He flew to Peru. Now check this out, man. Now they doing fish business. They just getting some fish and selling it to the people. The president flies to Peru. I'm sorry. The Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, flies to Peru. And he warned the Peruvian government not to deal with the Nation of Islam because they were a group of subversives. The Peruvians reportedly asked Kissinger, "What are you doing for us? You can kiss our ass, you and your Nixon." And they continued doing business with the Nation of Islam. Okay? The NOI had control. They had total control over its international fish business, all of their other businesses put together. They was building up, man, bigger and bigger. All right? It had total control over all of it. They controlled the total distribution, the shipping, which they had used chartered ships, and the NOI even had their own members on the docks to unload their own fish. You know, because you wouldn't want any unfortunate accidents to happen to the product, of course. You understand that. So they did everything themselves. You know, we don't want no accidents. You know how it go. In the process, this gave jobs to a lot of black men who had trouble finding work in other people's businesses. At one time, the NOI had 20 to 30 ships going back and forth between the U.S. and Peru. 20 to 30 ships going back and forth between the U.S. and Peru. The fish was dropped off at 18 to 20 ports across the U.S., and all of the NOI temples nationwide purchased fish from the NOI Chicago headquarters. The NOI also brought sardines from Morocco and fish from other places, expanding the nation's international trade deals even further. See? Here go your Wakanda right here. If you want to cry for losing all of that. And so what happened to it all? How do you get that far with that much money and with that many people? All these people supporting you and your business and then lose it all in just a few years. So it seems impossible, and yet the third Wakanda, the second Wakanda did fall. After the financial rise of the NOI, the organization started to unravel. The empire had began to unravel even before Elijah Muhammad's death in 1975. One of their problems was that they had apparently been riddled by tax debts and internal dissension and corruption. Same thing that happened to the Black Panther Party. What a coincidence. See? Isn't it strange how as soon as you really start getting somewhere, suddenly you have millions of dollars in tax debt all of a sudden. Okay? This is what happened to James Brown, Red Fox. Anyway, you get the picture. So let's keep that moving. The NOI empire finally collapsed amid competing probate court claims of Elijah's heirs and ministers. See, his children said all that money was theirs, but the NOI ministers said, nope, it's ours, and it should stay within the nation. Okay, this was reported by the Chicago Tribune. So it was this internal stress and fighting. So for whatever that's worth to you, this is what the Chicago Tribune had reported. That's whatever that's worth. So as the empire unraveled, so did the Nation of Islam's economic plan, and the bank went down with the sinking of the NOI itself. The bank had already lost the support of NOI leaders in Chicago at the time of Elijah's death. The NOI leaders of the day were reported as saying, not even the leaders in Chicago used the bank guarantee trust, and its prime bankers, they all used the downtown banks. So according to a report in 1978, this supposedly came from an inside source who was leaking info to the New York Times. See, here we go. Black sellouts tearing up another black organization from the inside. All right. This is what they've been doing every time. This is how it works. We complaining about the situation, and then we tearing it up ourselves. You shoot yourself in the foot and then complain you can't walk. This is what's going on. This is why we're at the bottom all over the world, right here. Okay. Some of these informants were threatened with death or life in prison if they didn't, infiltrate and do what they were told to do. And again, like I said, these were 19, 20-year-olds. Some of them was young, scared. They'd never been involved in anything like this. So, and even their families were threatened. So, okay, I can understand some of them acting out of absolute terror for their lives and for the lives of their families. I'm not saying that they should have done it based on that. I'm saying that that's a different case from the ones who were happy to do it. Does this one right here sound like he regretted infiltrating the Panthers, or does he sound proud of himself?
We were being infiltrated at a rapid rate. Every 4 or 5 people was an FBI informant.
They said, hey, we want you to infiltrate the Black Panther Party, which I did. I was from the hood, so I knew what to say and how to say it.
See, then you wonder why we don't have anything. The problem has always been the infiltrators that look just like you. The problem was never the ones buying the slaves, it was always the ones selling the slaves. It was never the oppressive power structures of the day, it was always their agents who looked just like you, but they worked for that power while pretending to be your friend and your confidant. Those were always the real enemy, the real problem, but nobody ever talks about them. See, y'all been mad at the wrong people for over 200 years. You got to start right inside, right within your own doors. You got to clean house first before you go outside and deal with what's going on out in your yard. Start inside, and you if you can get that straight, then what's going on in the yard is maybe not so bad. Okay. It hardly matters how many people are outside of your castle coming after you if you're being eaten alive by the rats on the inside. Okay. Let's move forward. So once word got out about the bank being in disarray, an announcement that the NOI was going to dismantle their businesses prompted a run on the bank by hundreds of Muslim depositors from around the country, and they all took their money out. So, in fact, at the time of Elijah Muhammad's death in 1975, it was reported that Elijah himself, the leader of the NOI, actually had his millions at another bank as well. They reported that he had an account at the Daiichi Kagyo Bank Limited Chicago branch, which was a bank that was based out of Japan. His account apparently totaled $3.3 million. That was a lot of money back then. It's a lot of money today, but it was worth a lot more back then because we're talking $3.3 million in 1975. With depreciation of the dollar over the years, that's about $26.7 million today. Okay, so yeah, that's a lot of money. Did he have his money in that bank, in a bank based in Japan, or did he not? They said that he did. Did he? Did he not? Again, they're gonna tell you what you put out, what they want to put out. tell you what they want to tell you. What really happened and what really went down. Whenever you listen to Mr. Farrakhan talk about things, it's always completely different from what was in the New York Times and the New York Post and the Tribune, and and then you listen to Farrakhan, it's all okay. And now it finally starts to make sense when you listen to it from the people that was actually involved with it, So whatever, but yeah. So they said he had his money in a bank in Japan, whatever. After his passing, a long court battle between Muhammad's heirs and the ministers of the NOI had ensued over the funds. So as you can see, Elijah and Malcolm were the original dream team, man. They were bad. Malcolm was killed in 1965, so he wasn't involved in any of these business dealings. But while he was alive, he did get more people involved in the NOI than they ever had before. And Elijah was able to continue to capitalize on that and turn it into a real-life, futuristic Wakandan empire. After Malcolm's passing, that he continued that on and was able to grow that up into levels that, again, shook the nation, shook the world, and was doing business all over the world with anybody that was willing to work with him. He worked with them. Okay, and black people, even down in the grassroots, was able to benefit from this because they was able to either join the Nation of Islam, or they was able to work at these different factories and fish houses and things that they had set up. So everybody benefited from it. They got good food, good clothes. Everybody benefited from one black organization, was able to send those benefits out around the world. Okay. The Black Panthers were then able to take that same energy that they had generated and run with it and continue to build the new black empire that had come from the Nation of Islam. So Marcus Garvey got it started. Nation of Islam kicked in. They did their thing. Black Panthers came in and took the baton and ran with it, and then they continued to build empires after that. Okay, so you see a line, a track record, a history of what black people in this day and age was out here doing. Okay. So if you go back to the time before Malcolm and Elijah, I had mentioned Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey in the early 1900s literally had a standing army on American soil. A lot of people don't know about him. When y'all talking about that green, black, and red, that's not an African flag. That was Garvey's flag. That was Garvey's colors. African flag wasn't green, black, and red. Y'all talking about Garvey and don't even know it. Okay? Garvey had the green, dealing with the green, black, and red. Or red, black, and green. Okay? That was Marcus Garvey. So that was another one with a very similar write-up to the Nation of Islam. Businesses everywhere owned 2 Freightliner ships and so on. But Marcus Garvey's organization, the Nation of Islam, and even Malcolm X's organization were all torn to shreds by the same thing. Internal agents who were working for their masters. Okay? But these agents look just like them. All right? See, a lot of black people back then really kind of had a problem believing that black people would join a government organization and work from the inside and destroy a black organization. It's like we out here to help you, and then you killing us while we trying to help you. And a lot of them had a problem understanding that. Today we get it. We looking all around for agents today, but back then they was being infiltrated left and right, and they had a real problem trying to figure out which one was which and who was who. How do you connect and help all of these people when maybe 1/3 of them are agents and trying to tear it all down? And they look just like you. How do you deal with that, man? That's rough, but this is what they were dealing with. If you can deal with that, you can build something. You can't build anything until you can figure out how to get around that. All right? And you can see what happens whenever you try. Because it keeps happening over and over. Okay? So they, by doing this, these agents and their masters was able to lock the entire black race into a gutter status for almost 100 years or more. How powerful is evil? Is it really that powerful? Or are some people just so weak, heartless, and mindless that just with the slightest whisper in their ear and a few dollars, they're willing to become your best friend and kill you in your sleep? Okay. See, the agent in Malcolm X's organization was his number one right-hand man, another black man. The agent in Garvey's organization was Garvey's right-hand man and closest confidant, a black man. The ones who pulled the trigger on Malcolm were all black men. The ones who betrayed Martin Luther King and set him up were black men. Okay, so today we got black folk all across the nation sitting up here crying over a movie that we don't even own and we don't make a dime off of. A movie that turns our real history into a cartoon. A live-action comic book that is owned by another man that doesn't look like you do. So he takes your story, he takes your culture, he takes what your people went through and remixes it as fiction and then sells it back to you in the form of a movie ticket. You watch his version and cry, but you haven't even bothered to look your real version up. Why are you crying crocodile tears over the made-up version when you haven't shed a single tear for your real version? All right, if you're gonna cry, go get your story and cry about that. Then do something about it and rebuild it. Some of you like to sit online and brag about your degrees and how much money you're making at your job. Okay, cool. You got your Bentley parked out front, your BMW. Cool. Then why don't you take some of that money and invest it, not into another man's stocks and bonds, but into rebuilding the real Wakanda. Let it be a Wakanda number 4. We done had 3. All them brothers and sisters back in the day did all of that work. Blood, sweat, and tears invested into trying to do something for the people. They believed in this and they went for it. And if you want, if y'all crying over the movie and you want that so bad, why don't you take all of that money and then build one? Build a Wakanda number 4. All right? Rebuild the international fishing trade that the Nation of Islam had set up. Rebuild the services that the Black Panthers were offering. I mean, damn, if you're willing, if you're sitting on as much money as you all brag about, driving around in your Bentleys and the Benzes, then why can't you set up a community farm in the hood that people can come and help to run that community farm and get free food from the crops that they planted in the farm? You would never have starvation in the hood if black people built a little farm, a little greenhouse, a community greenhouse in every project in every community. Y'all would never run out of food. At what point did we forget that food is free? Food grows up from the earth. It grows up from the soil. All you need is the seeds. My grandfather, I grew up with I had my grandfather. I used to go over there. We would go in the backyard back there. My grandfather had a victory garden back there. It had every kind of fruit and vegetable you could imagine. He had watermelons. He had cucumber, carrots, cabbage, potatoes, sweet potatoes, yams. I mean, everything. The garden was huge. He had a big backyard. He had grapevines, little grapes growing all up on the vines and everything. Okay, tomatoes, and then he had about 4 or 5 trees back there. He had an apple tree, a plum tree, pear tree. Okay, a couple of them. It wasn't just one. He had different ones. A couple of them. And we would climb up in the trees and just sit up in the trees, eating plums and apples. And I'm trying to think. I think he had a peach tree back there. I think. I'm not sure. I think he might have had a peach tree. But I know he had the plum tree and the pear tree and the apple trees. So we would just climb up in there, sit and just eat fruit. Now you go down to the store today. How much does apples and plums cost you down at the store today? Pears and peaches. How much is it? That's expensive now. But as children, we would just go sit up in the trees and just eat them. And just pick them off the tree and eat. If you have that, you can never starve. They talking about there's a shortage on food and we don't have enough food for the people, and people out there breaking into stores to get the last can of soup or something like that. The food is free. You plant a tomato plant and one little tomato plant grows so many tomatoes they go bad before you can eat them all. All right, so my grandmother used to can the food. They call it canning, where they would take and cut the peaches up or whatever and the plums, and they would put it in the jars and put the lid on it and seal it. They would like vacuum seal it. And I think it apparently took a long time to do that. And down in the basement, they had pantry with jars from top to bottom wrapped around all the walls. These jars of fruit and vegetables that if ever there was a situation where they couldn't get food from the store, maybe they got snowed in or something like that, couldn't get out of the house, and they didn't have food in the refrigerator. They could always go down to that pantry and get one of those jars and break them open, and you had every kind of fruit and vegetable that you could want right there, fresh, preserved. All right, they got vacuum systems today. It doesn't take all of that to do it today. Today you got these vacuum seal systems. I would advise you to maybe invest in them. And go and get you some food and some fruit and some vegetables and start vacuum sealing your food and stocking it up just like our grandparents did. Okay, plant you some apple trees and pear trees and plum trees in your backyards, and they start talking about there's a shortage on food. No big deal, because you got a garden back there with apple and pear and plum trees all over the place. You know, at what point do we again begin to imitate and use some of the solutions that our ancestors gave us? They already told us how to deal with this stuff over the last 100 years. They was dealing with it. They was in way worse situations than we were, and they was dealing with it and had things set up to where they was literally out there prospering, blowing up in times of stress and strife, and going out in the street and just getting attacked for no reason, and they were prospering. All right, we out here just can't figure it out, and we don't have anywhere near the problems that they had. So I think if you start doing some stuff like that, take some of those Bentleys and Benzes and all this money that you have, and begin to invest it in trying to get some of this stuff, you know, find some solutions for some of these things that we've been complaining about, and I think you will see a big difference. Okay, it doesn't take a whole lot to make a lot of changes. As you can see, these people was able to do a lot with very little. We have a lot more than what they ever had. We should be able to really get out here and tear something up today. All right, you know, when I say tear something up, I'm talking about really building some things and farms and community type operations. I mean, we should really be able to do some things if you have the money and you got some time. The internet, we got all of this stuff down that they never had. We should just be out here just killing it. So if you want that change, you can do it. So now don't get me wrong, you know, when I'm saying all of this stuff, I'm not talking about going out and boycotting movies. I'm not talking about don't go see it and none of that. All that weak bullshit. I'm not talking about that. All right, if marches and boycotts work, then there would never be a need for more marches and boycotts, because all of the previous marches and boycotts of the 60s and 70s would have solved all the problems, right? Okay, so obviously a lot of the problems are still here, so the marches and the boycotts are not the answer. So I would say buy some popcorn and enjoy the movie, man. Part 2 coming out, enjoy it, all right? But while you're watching it, try and remember what you just saw and learned and heard here today. Remember what you learned. And if that movie touches you and makes you wish that Wakanda was real, then maybe when the movie is over, instead of going out and dancing in the mall, you go out and see what you can do to make it real again. Wakanda number 4. Okay, the real Wakanda number 4. All right, your ancestors did the first 3. See if you can do 1. All right, so some powerful black guys did it multiple times before. There's no reason it can't be done again. We've got access to knowledge, money, and resources today that, as I said, that they never had, and yet they were able to build black empires that went coast to coast and across the ocean. If all of you who want to see that movie were instead, again, to put your money together, you know, get with other ones of the like mind, and instead of giving them $1 billion for a movie, if all of you put just a couple dollars together, you'd have $1 billion. You see, they're making all this money because you're going to see it. If you took that ticket money and all of y'all put that together, you'd have $1 billion to work with and build a Wakanda number 4. Okay, if you wanted it, instead of crying over the movie, just go make it real. Okay, so you should ask yourself, what can you do with your money other than give it to people who have stolen your history and remade it into a cartoon for them to profit on, instead of you and your people to profit on? All right, so dig this. They took the image of the brother Huey Newton, the leader of the Black Panthers, and put their cartoon version in the throne just like his. Check this out.
Why is it that you are so naive? You let people redress something that you invented, sell it back to you, and enslave you through it.
It's all right for you to have a king holiday today because there's no more king.
And that goes right along with the fact that it's okay to have a Black Panther movie because there's no more Black Panthers. You don't get a dime off of that movie. As I said, the people of Africa don't get a dime. The people at Marvel and Disney are going to make billions from your story, your history, and all those people that they're making it from were wiped out. You know, most of them. Okay? Billions from your history. Billions from your slain black leaders. Every last one of which, all of these black leaders were killed either in their sleep or as they stood there unarmed and made a speech to help liberate the people of that day. Okay? Y'all crying for Brother Chadwick, who willingly and knowingly signed up with these people and agreed to play the role of a black superhero that was based on your real heroes. Okay? But how many of you cried for the real ones? Did you ever cry for the Grand Master Teacher Elijah Muhammad? How many tears did you shed for the phenomenal Malcolm X? Or did you cry for the great Marcus Garvey? Or the amazing Black Panthers? You know, those black gods built everything that they pretend to do in that movie. Those brothers and sisters, those black gods built it for real. But y'all forget the real ones ever existed. Well, now you know. Here's another example. Did you know that the famous talk show host Howard Stern now owns the trademark for the fist in the air symbol? Yeah, you put your fist in the air today, man, run around talking about black power, or put that design on any of your work and he can sue your black ass. Yeah, you didn't know about that one, did you? Yeah, they got all your shit, man. So I'll tell you what, I'll do you one better because I got a surprise for you. Yeah, I'm going to give you something that you rarely get these days. Something that was specifically made for you, with you in mind, and it benefits all of us because it represents us. Allow me to present to you the first official production of Black Fusion Studios, a full production audiobook titled Paper Thin. It's an audiobook in full production format, which means that it sounds like you're listening to a movie with all the sound effects and everything, background noises, everything. So it's like you're watching a movie, you hear it in your mind. So it's available instantly on audible.com, and there's a link to it in the description box below. There's a short trailer for it also. If you go to audible.com, you can hear the first 5 minutes of it for free. But here, I'm going to play the trailer for you, and you can just kind of hear the intro trailer, the promo. Check this out.
When you're attacked, you try and fight back. But what if you can't see who's attacking you?
There it is, Mommy. See?
What do you do when your attacker is something on the other side and is ripping out your soul?
Oh shit, what the fuck is that?
Paper Thin. Now available on audible.com in full production cinema format. Extended ebook also available. Produced by Black Fusion Studios. Narrated by G.P. Hawks. Order yours tonight.
So there it is, man. Paper Thin. If you're into reading, it's got an ebook version. That's on Amazon, which actually is just a little bit more content in the ebook than it is on the audiobook, and just a little bit more detail in there. Kind of goes into things a little bit more. So I hope you enjoy that because there's a lot more to come. And one thing you need to understand and never forget is that when you purchase anything from Black Fusion Studios, every dime goes back into creating more productions for you, the fans. All right, new equipment, all of that. You know, it goes into more productions that are geared specifically for the fans. Okay, so it's not like you all are looking for something and then you never get it. Black Fusion Studios, you put out what it is, and if you start hearing enough about what you're looking for, what you want, and then you'll eventually get it. Okay, that's the difference. So there's a part 2 for Paper Thin coming out also. That's on down the road. But we're going to start producing social media websites, games, computer animated movies, and merchandise. We got it all coming for you, man. So that's actually a lot more that's out there, and it's already ready to drop. But I don't want to put too much out there at once, and to confuse people. So I'm spreading it out a little bit over time, and this also helps me to unravel any bugs in the workflow, and to give people a little bit more time to soak it all in. So check out the audiobook first, and there's going to be more for you here very soon. So that's where your money is going with us, and it's going right back to you in the form of creative content that's designed with the fans in mind. With that, I'll say to you that the links to all of this, the references, the materials that I've used are in the description box below, as well as links to the audiobook. And please make sure you click like and subscribe for this channel. And thank you all for watching, and I'll be back real soon. Peace.